Welcome to the Conscious Resistance Live. I've been doing some thinking lately on forgiveness, self-reflection, and just happiness in general. Just been reading this book, 12 Simple Secrets to Happiness. I found it at the half-price bookstore, and it's been serving me well the past few days as I spend this new year reflecting and going deeper about some of my issues. And I talked with Tyagaraja earlier in this week, and it was a really good conversation. You'll be hearing that interview in just a bit. And one of the things that he brought up to me, he brought up the idea of instead of just being active, being regenerative. You know, taking steps and doing things that he referenced it towards permaculture, but not only doing things that are sustainable, but going beyond sustainability and really focusing on regeneration, not just sustaining what we already have, but making it better, improving it. And when he brought up that phrase, it really got me going further with and thinking about the idea of regenerative activism and what that means, what that could look like, and what it really means for us to pursue solutions and to try to change the world, change ourselves, improve our communities, inform others, and do all these necessary, important steps without letting ourselves get run into the ground, which I am myself very guilty of at different times, and not giving myself enough space to recuperate and to regenerate. And I see for me more and more that I have to have a routine. I have to have time, quiet time to meditate, to reflect on what's going on in the world, so I can get all these projects and all these different ideas out of my brain and put them in a tangible form in front of me, and it makes it easier to deal with the bigger problems going on. It makes it easier also to deal with the smaller problems, and sometimes the big problems in the world can seem small compared to the little problems going on, or the little ones going on inside you that seem like mountains. And I think it's something we should all pursue, looking forward in our own lives and looking to 2014 as another opportunity to continue to awaken people to the idea and the message of liberty, and to continue to encourage individuals to pursue their own freedom, to educate themselves, to research what's going on in the world, and to question things, and to do so in a manner that isn't completely exhausting, because this is definitely an exhausting battle here. It's also a battle if you see it as such. It can be just an amazing, beautiful opportunity to constantly learn, to strive, and to grow. And really, when you think about it, the they that we put a label on, Illuminati, New World Order, ruling class, elite, globalists, whatever you want to call them, without them doing whatever it is that their purpose and their action is, we wouldn't be here pushing for the opposite of that, which is, light, positive, change, information, awareness. So we have to recognize that what's going on in the world and the role that we're playing is possibly, I believe, one that we are meant to do. I don't really know how how I feel about fate and whether or not I think everything is determined, or how much influence we have over our lives and the path that we take. But I do believe the more aware we become, the more conscious, the more we take time to take these steps that are regenerating our relationships. It's another thing I've been reading a lot about, is just how to better work relationships as two-way streets, and to not completely just become focused on your own ends with why you're engaging in other people, and really trying to build relationships that are powerful and good for both people involved. So just something to get your minds working. Today is Sunday, January 15th, right? Is that right? Sounds about right. January 15th. My name is Derek Brose, and you're watching the Conscious Resistance Live.
Wondering how I got into this mix. Mind playing tricks and I'm fiending for a fix. Habits overriding, imploding into explosion. Tapering away like ocean, coastal erosion. Bringing down balls like a Shakespeare tragedy. Expectation versus novelty and odyssey. Trusting the truth of my power like a battery. Showing a new way to each and every bag MC. Imposing the impossible, surpassing every obstacle. Sailing with my voice until we all become unstoppable. Visionary depiction, blurring fact from fiction. Enriching perception with colorful depiction. Scales are tipping and I feel it in every nerve. Revolutionary like the birth of spoken word. Tuning my thoughts to the streams of the absurd. Walking on by to a new day I turn. Walking on, walking on, walking on, walking on. fountain of the knowledge that I learned. Walking on by to a new day I turn. My true self dwelling in the clouds in the sky. Walking on by, walking on by, walking on by, walking on by.
Okay, I made a mistake. It's the 12th. My bad. Don't freak out. I got a calendar right there, but you know, I kind of live. I'm too much of an anarchist to live by the Gregorian calendar. I prefer the moon calendar, the lunar calendar, anyways. But yeah, it's the 12th if you pay attention. And a moment ago, I was just talking about forgiveness. Here's a piece of that book talking about forgiveness. I want to read this one to you guys before we move forward, just because I think this is really powerful and my pursuit of self-forgiveness, and also, although it's not always granted, you know, as far as you know, if you've ever heard of or been through the AA program, CA, or those 12-step programs, I got my issues with them. But one of the things is making amends with people, and you know, they teach you how you can't always force, you can't force people to make amends with you if they don't want to. If they still hate you or pissed off whatever you did, you got to deal with it, as much as that sucks. So that's why self-forgiveness is important. And it's not just, you know, about absconding any kind of responsibility. It's about just choosing to grow and to move forward and to not be stuck in the past. And I really like this one. It says, this is from Thomas Fuller. He says, "He that cannot forgive others breaks the bridge which he must pass through himself, for every man has a need to be forgiven." And I think that is really powerful and interesting, and I dig that. So today is Sunday, January 12th, 2014. I got the year right. Some announcements, catch up on announcements. First of all, thank you to our affiliates and our partners, Uncorporate Media. Thank you, Neil, for always keeping everything running, for all the work you do to keep this show moving. Thank you, everyone at Liberty Movement Radio, for rebroadcasting the show when you get the opportunity to do so. Also, Freedom Phalanx Radio Network. You can find the show, so if you don't get to catch it live, you can find it Sunday morning, Monday morning, and Tuesday morning from 9 to 11 a.m. at fprn.com, I believe. And Mike and Kriston from the Rundown Live, those guys help us out a lot. If you want to listen to my show on the TuneIn app, you can search for the Rundown Live, and you should be able to hear me right about now. And who else do we work with? Well, I think those are all our partners to list right now. But other announcements, this coming Wednesday is going to be the debut episode of Lessons in Consciousness with Bruce King. Bruce was a contributor to the original campaign that got this live show going, and he's also been a guest on my show. He focuses on the power of thought. He's a chiropractor out here in Houston, and he studies a lot on consciousness and the many different aspects of life that topic touches on. So he's going to be having his own show starting this week on Wednesday nights, every Wednesday night, this same location right here. You can come and tune in and see Bruce breaking down. I've seen the first 4 or 5 episodes. So what he's doing is pre-recording these episodes. They're about 7 to 10 minutes long. You can tune in, and then he'll be available live after the video airs for follow-up questions and to kind of recap that. And I'm excited to do that, to see the programming expand. And also, my buddy Micah is supposed to be working on a Visionary Noise show, Visionary Noise being the name of our label and booking promotions company. So a show that will just focus specifically on all the different music happening in Houston and all over the world. And on that front, thank you to everybody who's reached out to me with music. I put out a request earlier on Facebook, and I appreciate that. If you want to send any music to be played on my show or throughout the network, or maybe possibly on Micah's upcoming show, you can email me at derek@theconsciousresistance.com, and we'll do our best to get out there, because we're trying to expose not only independent information and get you looking into topics that aren't covered by the old stream dying media, but also to expose you to music that you won't necessarily find on the radio stations and in Rolling Stone and places like that, but just as deserving artists of your time. And a couple of personal announcements. I started working for the Anti-Media this past week, so thank you to Nick Burnaby, activist out of San Bernardino, I believe, out there in California. We've met in person once, and we've worked together online quite a bit, and Nick's a good guy, and so I'll be a contributing writer to the antimedia.org. Be sure to check them out, and that, of course, is open source, community source. Anyone can get involved, and I have the opportunity now to contribute there, and they get massive views, so I'm looking forward to being able to step in that role and hopefully grow my information and push out a lot of much needed topics. I've got a list here of articles that I'm going to be working on. And also, just last night, this morning, found out that another writing position I've been pursuing, working with the Activist Post, activistpost.com, which is a site that I've kept up with for a number of years now, that I really look up to and appreciate their work. I am now a contributor with them as well, so you can find my articles, my information, of course, always at thehoustonfreethinkers.com, theconsciousresistance.com, and now I write short articles for Austin Radio on the Liberty Beat Monday through Friday, and you can look for more work from me from activistpost.com, theantimedia.org, and soon benswan.com. And on that front, next weekend there will not be a show. I'll probably be doing a replay because, well, I might do some kind of quick check-in live from the road, because beginning next Friday, Ben Swan and Gary Johnson, as part of the Our America Initiative's Texas Swirl event, they're going to be in Houston, Austin, and San Antonio. First, they'll be in Houston for this Liberty event with local Liberty groups there and speakers and a debate, so that should be interesting. I'll be there covering that action, doing interviews and talking to people about a number of different topics. And Saturday we'll be headed to Austin for that event, where I'll be the official videographer and covering it. And in that afternoon, Ben Swan is going to be the keynote speaker for the 1-year anniversary of the Liberty Beat Party, as we celebrate 1 year of bringing information to Austinites and to everyone all over the internet. And then the next morning we'll be in Austin still, as Gary Johnson is one of the lead-off speakers of the large pro-gun rights rally that's taking place in the Capitol. And then we're headed to another event in San Antonio. So lots of stuff going on, and I'm excited for it. And if you're going to be here in the city, if you're going to be in Houston and you want to get involved with the Houston Freethinkers, there's lots of action taking place this week as well. You can find all those events at thehoustonfreethinkers.com under the events page, or on Facebook, of course. You know, we're out here trying to spread information about the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and spread information about, of course, NDA 2014 passed with the indefinite detention still in order, and also to try to raise awareness about the fact that there's a community, the Houston Freethinkers and others out there, who are trying to do things about these topics, and it's not all doom and gloom, because there are things that we can do, steps that we can take in our lives to make ourselves more free. And I want to encourage everyone to get involved. I will be gone for that action, but Michael will be here, Joe Perales will be here in the city, and if you want to get involved in a projection bomb meaning a projector, some images, and bombing the walls with light and spreading information, there's something like that being discussed that will not be further discussed online. But get in touch so we can figure out more creative ways to spread information about important topics. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Oh, one more announcement. I'm really excited about this. You guys have heard me refer to Jeffer throughout the show. Jeffer Michael, who is our first intern and my first producer, came over here from Scotland and helped out a lot. What's up, buddy? He went back home, but he recently won a prize that he can, of course, not take advantage of while he's in Scotland. A prize which is a ticket to the New Hampshire Liberty Forum, which is about 4 or 5 weeks away, I believe. And this is a huge event. If you've never heard of it, look up Liberty Forum, and you can see the list of the speakers, Amanda Billyrock, I believe Stefan Molyneux, Ben Swan, you know, all the different people who are active in the Liberty movement, and lots of important things to say. Should be interesting. So we have that prize to give away. This is how we're going to do it. I guess I will check in next Sunday to announce who we're going to give it away, but we're going to create an event sometime throughout this week that is something like whoever can share a video the most or the page the most, so we can grow this message and grow this network. Whoever shares it on the most pages or something like that will get this ticket to New Hampshire Liberty Forum. Now, I believe it's for all 3 days of the event. It might even be VIP. I got to find out the details from Michael, from Jeffer, to figure that out. But it's cool to be giving away prizes. Another thing that we're working on to be doing in the coming weeks is giving away Litecoin and different cryptocurrencies. I think we're going to focus on Litecoin because it's the next growing one, the silver of cryptocurrency, the silver to Bitcoin's gold. And you know, I want to do like an interactive. We have the call-in number where you guys call in and say something like, who can answer the most question, like the most questions out of 10 and 20 seconds or something like that, and they'll be liberty related or topical of some sort. So look out for that. I want to make this interactive so you can win things and hopefully encourage you to get involved in this, because I'm still looking for other shows on this network. It's continuing to grow. We've got new writers. Check out the About page on theconsciousresistance.com. Lots of good stuff happening here on our front. So thank you guys for sticking around as we grow, and I believe there will be no technical difficulties tonight, and I should probably be interviewing John Bush very soon, finally. I'm also set to interview Richard Gage of Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth to discuss the latest on the Rethink 9/11 campaign. I'm also trying to set up an interview with Dr. Stanislav Brzezinski, the guy from here in Houston, who is, if you've seen the documentaries about him, the FDA pursuing him years and years on, and just saying that his methods are dangerous. Well, I want to talk to him personally, so I'm trying to set that up. I'm also looking to interview the people behind Occupy Spirituality and Austin organizer and activist Scott Crow. And I believe tomorrow morning I will be interviewing Antonio Buehler on his recent decision to sue the Austin Police Department based on the fact that they're spreading information among their cops saying that citizens have to be 50 to 60 feet away from cops if they're filming, and the ACLU takes issue with that, and so does Antonio. So he's suing them, and of course some who are more anarchist-minded and who thought that Antonio was or believe Antonio was are saying, hey man, why are you using the state to get involved in your matters and this and that? But I think you could argue either way that, hey, if Antonio wins this lawsuit, then hey, that could be a huge step towards keeping the police accountable in the city, and sometimes I guess you got to use their machine against them, but that's up for you guys to decide. But we'll be talking with him, and what's interesting, just a little inside scoop for those viewers watching live, when I asked Antonio about this interview, he said we have to do it today or tomorrow because I'm pretty much about to cut ties with the Liberty Movement. And I was like, that's cool because I'm not part of the Liberty Movement, but so just talk to me whenever you want. But yeah, big things happening. Now, one of the first articles I wrote for the antimedia.org is one I've been working on in my head for a bit, which is what I tend to do. I've had this this desire to look more and more into the deaths of several journalists, and the list is extensive, that die under odd circumstances. The Committee to Protect Journalists keeps track of this all around the world, and it's more common than you would believe. And even here in the United States, some would say it happens and it just happens more covertly, or people are suicided, or their cars explode and things like that. But the idea that journalists, true journalists with the gall and the will to speak up and to speak out when being threatened, which seems to happen quite often with different journalists, where they start receiving dirty phone calls and threatening messages for their work. Well, I wanted to bring this back and to see how can we finish the work of Michael Hastings, how can we finish the work of Danny Casolaro, and how can we finish the work of Salim Shahzad and Bill Cooper and thousands of others. I'm guessing thousands. As long as there's been corrupt government, there's been journalists trying to report on it, and an open, honest, and truthful journalist pursuing information undaunted by the machine in front of them is a huge threat to that machine. So by pursuing this information, I believe we can spark change, we can create new conversation, and also reassure that these men and women did not die in vain, that their work doesn't go unfinished. So in memory of Michael Hastings, Danny Casolaro, and Salim Shahzad, I wrote this article, and I also created a page brought to you by myself in the anti-media that I'm hoping you will join the efforts. It's called Revive Journalism. Go to facebook.com/revivejournalism, and you can like it, subscribe it, share it, please. Because what I'm trying to do here is connect other individuals who have the same concerns and desires I do as far as finishing this work, and just having open source research. I mean, I know there's some good forums online already for this type of thing, but just pulling all our resources to specifically focus on what were the last things that Michael Hastings really were looking into. And you got to find the article to look deeper into it. I don't got the time to cover it completely right now, but I break down different points of Michael Hastings' death, Danny Casolaro, and Salim Shahzad, and what they were covering. And according to different sources, Michael Hastings was working on a big story about John Brennan, the CIA director, who's also the principal coordinator, according to the New York Times, of the Obama kill list, also known as the disposition matrix. And you can find the article and the links to all this stuff. I'm not talking crazy. The President of the United States has a kill list that he approves of himself. Apparently he likes to make that final decision. And John Brennan was the chief behind, the main force behind the war on journalists, the Department of Justice war on journalists, which began last summer when we found out that they had stolen phone records from Associated Press journalists. So this is going on, this is happening more and more, and Michael Hastings was covering it. He said he was doing a profile of John Brennan, and whatever it was, it may have led to his death, and I think that's why it's important to finish that. I've also got this book here that I found in Austin at Brave New Books. It's called The Last Circle, Danny Costolaro's investigation into the octopus and the Promise software scandal. I think it's great because it shows, I mean, it's a lot of work, a lot of stuff to get through in here, but it shows like how he started looking into the software scandal that led to Iran-Contra, to international banks, that led to the drug trade, and to something that he began to call the octopus. And before he died, he said he was going to meet somebody to put the final pieces together of what the octopus was. So I'd like to know how far the octopus's tentacles go and which pieces what, you know, and maybe that's all of our those of us who choose to research and constantly pursuing this information and trying to figure all the pieces out. Maybe that's just our hope that, you know, we're going to finally find that one piece of information that exonerates us and puts everything into perspective, and we can finally show everybody what's really going on in the world and things will change. But most likely it's not just going to be one single piece of information. It's going to be being able to take the whole picture and to be forward-thinking and focus on all aspects of it, not just one single aspect, which is why me personally as an activist, I try to do a number of different things as focused as possible, but because everything, they're just, you can't help it, they're all connected. You know, once you start picking apart one piece, you see, wow, that connects to this issue, and that connects to this issue, so it's kind of hard for me to separate them as not being one great ill on our species. So please check out that article. It's called Unfinished Business, Finishing the Work of Dead Journalists. And please do check out the Revive Journalism page on Facebook.com/Revive Journalism. We have, well, first of all, you heard, before the show, you heard Bury the Crown, and you also heard, I can't remember their name, Affiance, I believe, Affiance, something like that. And the songs you're going to hear on this show now, the one we're about to play you, and then the next three throughout the show, are presented to you by the independent artists that send them to us and ask to play them, and we play 4 videos each show, and then you can go to theconsciousresistance.com and vote on your favorite. Each week you can shape and help the atmosphere of the show. You decide what it's going to be, whether we're going to listen to heavy, crazy metal music the whole show, or if it's going to be chill, if it's going to be the Fiddlers, whatever it is, I'm down for all of it. You know, you guys decide. Send me stuff and we'll play it, and then you vote on your favorite, and we'll change it each week. So that's how you can help shape this broadcast. Check out this first video, which is from our new artist of the week, Joe, also known as Truth Seeker, Truth Seeking Soldier, I think I'm saying that right, Truth Seeker. Let's check out this video from him, and then we're going to roll right into my interview with Tyagaraja, who is a renowned musician from Houston, Austin area, Texas. He's traveled abroad, and he's also a yoga instructor, a meditation instructor. He's a permaculture activist, and he's got a lot of great things to say. So check out this first video, and then check out an interview from my brother, Tyagaraja, and I'll be back here just a little bit. Thank you guys for watching The Conscious Resistance Live. Stay tuned.
On its knees, you don't need degrees to see what we see. Open up your eyes, stop believing the lies. It's time we go on the rise. We gonna decriminalize. My mind hardcore's ready to soar. The message that I'm bringing is to keep it raw. We're here to settle the score, bringing truth to your door. Elites in the shadows planning third world war. We got dancers, prancing, romancing. Now it's time for the chances. Piccadilly Circus. Woo! Woo! Come on, people. Clap your hands, 1, 2, true to the street. I don't eat meat and I'm not discreet. I'm just was pumping truth, now it's truth radiation. Whole civilization, new vibration, new information, new civilization. Love, peace, this is the key. Civilization. Oh, come on, people. Woo! We got dancers from Spain today. Coming together, we're all coming together as one, as one, as one. Yo, we are one. Energetic consciousness, infinite potential's gonna be synonymous. It's the next quantum leap to be free. Resonate with the highest form of the sacred energy. Transform to a whole new reality. Peace, equilibrium, gonna be normality. Instead of hate and destruction. This is what we call this harmony. My mind hardcore is ready to soar. But the message and the aim is to keep it raw. Hit the sound, the score, bring the truth to your door. Elites in the shadows fighting third world war. Yeah, we get the dances and dancing. Bring it with the truth and the truth's romancing. Spin it with the truth, now the truth is the chronic. Supersonic, hypnotic, you know you want it. Truth's inside you, ready to guide you. Intuitive force and you know you got a right to. Hold on tight, enjoy the ride. Come on people, we're not gonna hide. We are one, one. Energetic consciousness, infinite potential's gonna be synonymous. It's the next quantum leap to be free. Resonate with the highest form of the sacred energy. Transform to a whole new reality. Peace, equilibrium, gonna be normality. Woo! Yeah, woo! Yeah, I say focus, focus. Don't lose your focus. Realign your mind and your soul. You know this.
This is Derek Bros reporting for The Conscious Resistance. Today I'm catching up with singer, songwriter, and permaculture activist, and also a good friend of mine, Tyagaraja, to talk about his latest activities and how you can get involved. How you doing, brother?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to talk with us a little bit. Before we get into some of your projects and what you've worked on in the past and what you're currently working on, let everybody know a little bit about yourself and who you are and what you're putting out to the world.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a long story, so to paraphrase and summarize, it's a little difficult, even just with the name Tyagaraja. I was given that name by a South Indian woman, divine mother type. Her name is Karunamai, and I studied with her for some time, and it's kind of common actually in many traditions to take on a certain sadhana or spiritual practice or daily discipline, and in many different traditions, not just the one in particular that we're practicing with. And then since moved on to another teacher and guru who's very special to me. He's a Vedic monk and Sanskrit scholar. His name is Swami Vidyadhishananda. So I bring that up because it relates and trickles into every single little other aspect of my life, whether it's sharing and teaching meditation, yoga, or even permaculture, sustainable design, and especially music and my lyrics and my songwriting is all affected by this, because it's not just thinking about one thing and then going to a yoga class and then stopping for the day, or as some might go to church on one day of the week and then don't practice the rest of their week. So it's really infused, and that's what's so amazing about the practice and the philosophy, the daily life, is that it's infused in every single waking moment. So that sort of discipline kind of moves into everyday life, my songwriting, and is a big part of what I do in every aspect. So I'm a songwriter of many different styles. I don't like to classify myself as a singer-songwriter, because that kind of puts you in a little box with an acoustic guitar. So we do a wide range of different things, and with our nonprofit that's fledgling and just starting, it's called Sustainable Humane Earth. we serve a wide blanket of different actions, not just growing food in urban settings, but designing, also community building, placemaking, and through another nonprofit that I'm an ambassador of called Swamihaman, we partner with them to uphold and uplift indigenous and Vedic culture. So I feel like indigenous culture of any kinds, even if it's not Vedic, is key into some sort of a sustainable society. And you see that kind of, it's really interesting to me that we're looking back to indigenous societies for answering the problems that we've created with industrial complex, going back to our origins, so to speak. So it's really, a lot of permaculture is nothing new. A lot of what we're doing is nothing new. It's just sort of reviving that in a way that's applicable to daily life.
Awesome, yeah, and I really appreciate that, because as a spiritual person myself, and as an activist and as a writer and as just a human being, for a while I was trying to separate these different aspects of my life, but I feel similar to what you just described, that now my spiritual beliefs permeate all aspects of my life, whether I like it or not. You know, I can't help but be a spiritual activist and have conversations that relate to the things I care about, and trying to make every action I do contribute towards the betterment of our species. So I definitely resonate with those thoughts. Tell us a little more about, before we get into some of your more activist-based projects, tell us a little bit more about your music and how long you've been playing music, when you got started, all that.
Okay. Yeah, I actually, probably when I was a child, my first experience thinking I was some sort of a performer was on the porch of my house in Hutto, Texas, when I was 5, 6 years old, thinking I was Michael Jackson. So Michael Jackson was my first, other than my father, who's a songwriter and singer and taught me the guitar and all of those things. But Michael Jackson was my first real inspiration vocally, and you know, a lot of things happened in that amount of time. Obviously, went through many different transformations. Found Nina Simone when I was in high school. That really changed my voice a lot. And vocally, I think, is probably where I focus most. I even can, if I'm hearing other instruments, I can even write the melody for the other instruments with my voice. So even if I'm not using guitar, my voice is what creates all of the other composition. So progressing further into kind of what I'm doing now is more of a fusion between things I've learned through classical Hindustani music or classical Indian music. And I've been studying with a classical Indian vocalist named Pandit Suman Ghosh for the last 3 years, and I continuously do that every day. It's kind of like going back to kindergarten, so to speak, because my voice tends to move into that blues scale, but the Indian classical ragas, they really have this amazing structure and notes within notes, and it's very hard to find them if you're thinking in the Western mentality with your voice. So it's been it changed the entire way I write for the better, just composition-wise. And right now I'm working on a really kind of top-secret project with a producer and friend of mine. His name's Evan Donovan. And we're working on sort of a top-secret project, but it does bring into the aspects a lot of what I've been learning. So an Indian sort of fusion with scaling and composition, but it's done in a almost pop dance beat-oriented context. So sort of merging these modern styles with some classical Indian experience. Plus, you know, the philosophy in the music is still the same, coming from Sanskrit, Vedic literature, and those kinds of things. So that's my newest kind of blossoming with the music.
Awesome. That's great to hear, because for the viewers watching and listening, be sure to check out his music, because it's amazing, it's beautiful, it's definitely very moving, and I appreciate every aspect of it. So I'm looking forward to hearing your new projects. Let's move forward a little bit to some of the other projects you mentioned that are the nonprofits. Tell us a little bit about the permaculture-based nonprofit.
Yeah. Well, we set out originally to start our nonprofit, and it's taken many different transformations. That's why it's taken several years to create it. And finally, we've come to the name Sustainable Humane Earth. Everyone loves acronyms these days, so it's a perfect acronym for an earth care provider, or a Mother Earth almost aspirant. You know, I don't want to say worshiper because that makes people really scared, but absolutely, I think growing your own food and being an earth activist is Mother Earth worship. So the name acronym SHE just seems very perfect. So also my wife does a completely different kind of thing, and it suits her social work as well, because she works with women, primarily women of coming from domestic violence, sex trafficking, so victims of sex trafficking and domestic violence and abuse of any kind, whether it's physical or mental. So that also is inviting. The name is inviting for that aspect of it as well. So we serve, like I said, a wide blanket of things. So whether it's designing a permaculture garden and education center and an elementary school, which I think providing that education for the youth is really important, whether it's that or doing urban permaculture homesteading in certain areas, because of, I'm sure you well know about food deserts and certain places in the inner city and inner communities that don't have proper grocery stores and sustainable ways of living, introducing that. But also, like I said, upholding Vedic and indigenous culture, because that is basically the key to unlock any sort of idea of sustainability, because they had it down, and there are great things about being able to merge technology and modern industrialization advances. We're just talking, in completely different cities right now, so there's definitely some advantages of that. So in a way of uplifting and upholding Vedic culture in a way that we can actually implement those things locally and then spread the ideas on a global scale. So there's a lot of things at work. That's just a very, very small portion of what we do. On the permaculture side, we're really concerned about topsoil, energy conservation, and conserving water, all those kinds of things. So we grow our own topsoil, we make our own compost, we use organic compost tea, and all those awesome, amazing permaculture principle actions, and conserving water in every way we can, and putting those into design. My training in permaculture is really more focused on design. So if I was to say what's the number one aspect of what we do, it's the creative design, being able to bring a community of people that's already together. And in permaculture, you design for the community, not impose your thoughts of how things should work. You engage them, ask a certain set of questions, you observe and listen, and then you just facilitate their own ideas, not impose your ideas. So the creative design, getting people to be inspired to think in a broader manner, and think about the aspect of how much water they can actually catch off of a single building is really mind-blowing. So simple things like that can produce and generate a huge change in your immediate ecosystem. So we really feel like doing these things locally in really concentrated pockets all around, it really does uplift the ecosystem and the atmosphere, cleaning the atmosphere, purifying people's hearts, bringing community together. And if that's done continuously, I feel like that's almost more effective and quicker kind of activism than what we've tried to do for so long. And I'm glad that there are people out there protesting in the streets and raising awareness and doing political activism and all those things. That's necessary. But for me, my heart starts to get too stressed when I do that. So I've retreated and just do action. I don't do much awareness spreading other than education. Education is empowering. But it's just literally going into action, going into a river, cleaning out all that garbage and waste from subdivisions, cleaning off that waste and garbage and putting it into a permanent structure. To me, that does a lot more in the ecosystem and community, and that's just where we are.
Yeah, I really am glad that you touched on that point. For me, the way I tend to see it is that each of us are at different levels of our our awareness, our awakening, and our pursuit of creating a better world. And so I see everybody is playing a different role. Some people choose to do radio shows, some people write articles, others play music and spread the message. Some still are into protesting, as you said. Some like to go to city council and be involved in that way. But I feel in collectively each of us are doing some good to spread it. But I definitely feel like after a bit of time, you tend to realize that, okay, now that I'm aware of the things going on in the world, and I've told a bunch of people about it, and I've exhausted myself of that, and I've tried to vote, and I've done all these other things, what is a more direct way that I can take action in my life and see change? And really, as always, it has to start with you, whether we're talking spiritually, internally, dealing with our, all those hang-ups and issues that we have, that once we work through, we create a better world that way, but also in the physical world of just getting active and going out into your community. And I really agree as well that there's pockets of great things happening, not only in the United States, but around the world, and that these pockets are going to continue to grow. And as the so-called mainstream unsustainable society begins to fall away, people are going to be provided with a better option, and will hopefully the ideas turn towards some of these more sustainable ideas. I'd like for you to, before we go any further, could you define permaculture in your own words for the audience?
Yeah, sure. Permaculture was a phrase coined by a person named Bill Mollison, a really great permaculture teacher, and it really takes in the term agriculture and culture and the word permanent. So it's a way of designing a system for people, and it implies earth care and people care in a way that's permanent and sustainable. A lot of people in the permaculture world have even started to transform that thinking, that permaculture wasn't really enough to describe it. And it's really funny because there's really no simple way of describing it. And I think the best ecological response to anything is going to take some slow, mindful thought, and it takes some time to describe anything that has a lot of D words, depends. There's a lot of depends in different, anywhere you go, any region, bioregion on the earth is going to be different. So the word permaculture will be different in any different bioregion. So, and the more advanced permaculture places in the world, they're even starting to move towards phrases like regenerative, and they do use sustainable design, and that's more of like an eco-green business buzzword, but regenerative. So it's not only just permaculture and permanent, but it's actually something that continues to regenerate and restore, not just sustain. So,
wow,
Bill McKibben, really great, in my opinion, earth care activist. He's talking about the degree and temperature of the earth and the carbon in the atmosphere reaching a point that there's almost no return. So I'm in a big hurry, a big fat hurry, to really try to get that word permaculture to a point where we're also understanding that it doesn't have to just be sustainable, even though my company is called, nonprofit is called Sustainable Humane Earth. It's not just sustaining. Now we have to do even more to advance the ecosystem in a way to where we can combat the things that are almost out of control.
Yeah, exactly. Being sustainable is just the beginning. I really like that, man. You gave me an idea for regenerative activism. Mm-hmm. I'm going to work on that concept some more. One other issue I like that you touched on, and that's also extremely important to me, the more I've delved into and learned about my family's Native American past and also my native Mexican past in my family. We've been here since before it was called Texas, and just the more I've learned and seeked my own path and sought my own path in that way, I've realized as well that the abuse and the neglect of indigenous cultures continues to this day in the United States and around the world. And I also believe, as you said, that learning to combine some traditional indigenous native knowledge from cultures around the world with some of the technology and the knowledge that we've gained today, combining those two things will propel us a lot closer to a more sustainable regenerative world. Because currently, as you said, the Western state of mind is just to push forth to progress, and we assume that if we're moving forward, then things are always positive, even if that means the destructions of whole cultures and people. And I really believe that's a horrible thing that's happened throughout our history, but that there is a return back to these teachings, and that we have this internal cry that really is reaching out and calling out for something that is more meaningful than the culture that we're shown through the mainstream media, the mainstream government, and just that whole culture in general is unsustainable, and it's also not healthy spiritually, physically, and really in any manner. And I think that there's an awakening to that. People are starting to look to these cultures for answers. Why do you feel that we're starting to look backwards in some ways?
Well, a lot of these things unfortunately happen. I'm sure you could agree that they unfortunately happen because you get to that peak point, or you get to how many people have to die before we understand that there's a problem with violence inherent in the human being. And before I move into that, and I think it actually plays into this question very closely, would be I wrote a piece loosely called "The Real Thanks-Taking," and instead of Thanksgiving. So even just something as simple as what you brought up, there is a huge impression of the complete slaughter of indigenous culture in this country and the complete devastation of the indigenous culture in this country still present today, very strongly present, depressingly present. And if you were to say that thinking on those things and that just keeps us in the past, oh, that happens in the past, I'm sorry, but it's just an incorrect way of thinking. It's not a mindful way of thinking. Mm-hmm. Those things are still very present in society, even though they did happen in the past. The impressions of what's left over from that massive slaughter is still there, and it's been suppressed so much by an industrial complex that it's come to a point where we started to wake up and go, even mainstream, wake up and go, oh, maybe there was something to these people that were living barefoot and living off the land and the earth's natural resources, never taking too much. A consuming, overconsumption society, taking too much, brings it to a point where there's actually no other choice. And actually, in permaculture, we always look to, and this is also something I've learned from very closely in a deep meditation from Thich Nhat Hanh, a Vietnamese Buddhist monk. It's looking at your waste as an opportunity, looking at your negative things or your problems as an opportunity for growth. Mm-hmm. So really, if you take into context how huge a Walmart is and how many millions of dollars worth of water could be saved just from catching water off of one Walmart, if you put that into context, those are the entities that need to be reached by these sustainable and regenerative practices. And yes, it will trickle out eventually. But one thing that we also are striving with is to actually combine with it's one thing for me and you to go on about this because we, using our power to agree, we feel strongly about all these things. But how to approach someone that doesn't care? How to approach someone that has a bumper sticker that I just saw recently at a gas station Huge SUV. The bumper sticker said, "Stop global whining." Right? Not even thinking about what that means or what it implies. I'm just going to continue to overconsume, burn all this immense amount of gasoline and diesel, and just don't care about what happens to my brothers and sisters and mothers and fathers. How do we reach someone like that? So I feel like, and a person that I was instructed with through my permaculture design certificate, he has a business called Regenerative Leadership Institute, and he's very concerned with actually reaching the mainstream and using corporate entities to promote permaculture, and it's very controversial. A lot of permaculture people don't want that to happen. And I see the bridge between both of them. I see how small, like-minded groups can sprinkle out and create a big change, and I can see the immense power that would happen if a very huge corporation were to take on these sustainable practices. Because once you do, it creates mindfulness, and there's no way that that cycle doesn't trickle down to every single aspect, whether it's the lower level employees, whether it's your energy consumption, your waste, everything starts to get thought of.
Yeah, I like that. I agree with that. You know, and what's interesting though is to see, as you said, small groups creating change in their own ways, and then to see the bigger groups. And there does seem to be instances where one side, in this instance, you're talking about permaculture activists being weary of working with big corporate entities, and often with my activism through street action and people who are just run into the cops, there's also another strict barrier there where you'll be at a protest of some kind, or really any activity where there's cops, and you'll see the protesters set themselves on one side and the police on the other, and there's this huge division. Mm-hmm. And I myself have tried to bridge that gap by just communicating, because I feel like that's in all forms of activism, and really life is activism. Communication is a way we can all improve upon our activities and really get past these false barriers, because the sooner we do that, the sooner we're going to be able to get ourselves together. And I like to refer to the global network of activists doing things in different ways as the the jeweled net of Indra, and that we are basically, we're coming together now. So it's cool to see that happen, and that's why I like to interview people such as yourself and find people here in Houston who are doing things that, wow, I never realized this was going on in my backyard, and I can help this person this way, and we can work together this way, and then you just see more connections happen, and it continues on and on. Other than communication, what other roadblocks do you think there are that are currently, because I do believe we're moving past these things, but that are currently limiting us as individuals from achieving a more sustainable, regenerative society and a more mindful society in general?
Well, the distribution of wealth has a lot to do with that, it is a there is a Sanskrit-based teaching of artha, and it comes I'm not claiming it. It comes directly from our guru, Swami Vidyadeshananda. I've been listening to this talk over and over again, and it's one of the four pillar goals of life. And especially in the modern context, everybody unfortunately needs money to make things happen. And not even money, but just wealth. Health also is a wealth. So you need good health and wealth in order to make some sort of action possible. And yes, you can say, oh, well, we can get to a point where we can use our trades to create a new currency, and I value that absolutely. Except when I'm talking about a global scale, if we really want to do something globally, you definitely, at some point, you're going to have to come across needing money. Starting our nonprofit, huge barriers have come because of not having money. Mm-hmm. I'm constantly doing things for free. I'm constantly doing things for trade. And that's also come to a detriment of my own well-being. So my focus now is honestly finding like-minded people that can relate to these things and getting their support and their participation. because it's not. People think. I mean, if speaking of mainstream, think about how many people are out there spending money on Jack in the Box or McDonald's or buying cigarettes or beer or all these different things, and then if something comes up to, oh, this person's asking for a donation, oh, I'm not giving my money to them. You buy so many things and you exchange. What I think money is an energy exchange, and that's what Artha is talking about. So an energy exchange of money. You give your money away freely to so many different corrupt things, buying plastic Chinese garbage, putting gas in my car, which we are guilty of. I have to do it. Goes to very corrupt organizations. So, and groups of people. So how to engage people that are coming from wealth, that are like-minded, that can relate in a way to help them understand it's a participation, not necessarily just giving something away. You're participating in something, your energy exchange has put something into action. So I think money and wealth and the distribution of wealth and the complete imbalance of wealth is a huge barrier in any activism or any work of life if you want to run your own business, even if it's not a nonprofit.
Yeah, and I agree with you there that money is just a placeholder. It's just a symbol, the dollar, the euro, whatever we use, some new alternative currency. It's just a symbol to mark, that energy that takes place. If you and I have an agreement and we agree to trade something between it, that piece of paper holds that energy when we exchange things. And so that in that regard, it's always going to be needed. I think many of us, though, recognize that in its current situation, the way that the world is being run, and specifically in the United States with the Federal Reserve System and just with debt and how money is used as an instrument of debt to enslave people economically throughout their entire lives and future generations, it's definitely not a sustainable operation, and it's definitely empowering a small group of people while costing the rest of us a lot of pain and heartache. And I also agree with you on the fact that we each fight in different ways, and sometimes, as an activist, we've seen this happen where some people are like, I can't come out to benefits, I can't make it to meetings, I'm too old to protest, or whatever their various reasons are, but hey, I can give you guys, $10 a month or something like that towards, other things, and they know that we're going to then take that energy exchange and put it into action and do good things with it. So I would encourage, those listening, if you support not only Tyagaraja's projects, but any other activists, any other independent-minded entrepreneurs who are spreading a positive message and really trying to do good things, that if you have the ability to, then definitely invest in these things, because that's what it is. It's an investment in your future. It's an investment in all of our future, and we can take action in different ways. If you can't get out there and get in the garden, then definitely maybe consider donating some of that energy towards these great causes.
Absolutely.
One last question before I let you plug all your sites so everybody can find out more about these. We've gone over, obviously, music and spirituality and permaculture itself, but besides those things, what other type of solutions do you think our viewers should look into? Just any type at all, things that will propel us forward.
I wrote a song called People Shining in Their Power, and wrote a few other songs related on this topic. And it's actually something that I've had to work on later in my life, because I really don't like going out and talking with people and mingling and doing all those kinds of things. But I've had a really big awakening in that. And I really do think that just going out into your immediate community and talking to your neighbors and getting to know each other and community organizing, it doesn't even have to be about anything activism related. Just getting to know each other helps to bring your community to an understanding of maybe we don't need to go out and buy a bunch of new crap. You have this, he has this, she has this. So you can organize in your own community to share things, and that's all about transitioning our society instead of a consumption-based society, moving it toward something that we're more sharing heart to heart, sharing ideas. And that, I think, breaks down barriers of, oh, you're Christian, oh, you're this, you're that, you're all these separations that our society has brought up. And that's actually more of an indigenous way of thinking. It's nothing new. It's nothing I'm claiming to be my own or anything. That's how an indigenous society works, knowing each other. Everyone knows everybody. And it's not to say that we shouldn't have our own private lives, and being quiet and meditation is also key. But really, for myself, a good challenge, just getting out with the sweetness and kindness in your heart and knowing your own community. If that's done in every single community around the globe, more mindfulness will happen, more sharing will happen, more teaching will happen, more you'll eventually come across an elder who has a lot of wisdom that can impart on future generations. Less you'll be dependent on all of the things that are oppressing us, which are too innumerable to name. So that's really, I guess, just key. Being able to be open-hearted and kind enough to know that your own community is your own brother and sister. And almost like Ellen DeGeneres says at the end of every single one of her shows, be kind to each other, be kind to one another. That goes a long way. You know, I can't say enough about that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on all that. The evolution is in the conversations. The more we communicate and grow together and get out of our shells and come together, the quicker this thing will happen.
Absolutely.
So let everybody know where they can find your music, find about your permaculture projects, and anything else you want to plug. I want to make sure everybody can get in touch with you and help however they can.
Sure. My website for now, just under my own name, is probably the best source for all three of those things. Well, three meaning meditation, yoga, and permaculture, and my music. So Tyagaraja is spelled Tyagaraja.com, Tyagaraja.com. And we're building our permaculture website for the nonprofit Sustainable Humane Earth. So for now, we just have the Facebook page, Sustainable Humane Earth, Facebook.com/Sustainable Humane Earth. You can just look it up and it's there. And a few other sites that are not mine that I really highly recommend are some from an amazing permaculturalist named Jeff Lawton. So he has what's called permacultureglobal.com, and it's a network for permaculture, anyone in the permaculture community globally. It's an amazing tool of connecting with people. And Jeff Lawton's own website has ongoing educational videos. And the people that we got, the group that we got certified in permaculture with, in permaculture design, they launched a very almost controversial effort to put their complete courses online for free. So Regenerative Leadership Institute is the name of the organization. I can't remember if it's .com or .org. I think it's .com, Regenerative Leadership Institute. Or it's, no, permaculturetraining.com, permaculturetraining.com. Anyway, just look up Regenerative Leadership Institute. It's a free permaculture website. They do also paid trainings and things, and you would have to, I think, pay to get your certification, but you can sit and watch hours and hours of video and figure that out.
Awesome.
I've also just, I know there's a lot here, but I've also just launched my own meetup group. So just as far as locally, in between Houston and Austin, I'm doing urban permaculture design, not necessarily rural design. So urban permaculture design through the meetups. There will be some free ones, but most of them, because I'm very much in need of that energy of support of financial gain, and it's a shared thing. You'll definitely get way more, and you'll save way more money coming to one of these workshops than you would otherwise trying to figure it out on your own. So it's a meetup group called Austin Urban Permaculture Design. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you taking the time to talk to us today, and I will talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Take care, Derek. Peace.
Infectious drug, you crumble my heart, then roll it up and smoke it with every puff. I'm addicted to your ignited love.
Welcome back to the Conscious Resistance Live. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I hope you enjoyed that interview with Tyagaraja. Check out Tyagaraja.com. I posted all the links there in the chat room, and good conversation. That's going to be up on the YouTube channel for the Conscious Resistance Network. In case you didn't know, we created a new YouTube channel, so we're separating my channel, Derek Bro's channel, to from the Conscious Resistance Network. So you can go there now, and after Bruce King's Lessons in Consciousness show debuts and all the other programs that we're going to have, you can go there and you'll find a playlist for each show and all the episodes that we have. So go to youtube.com/consciousresistance and you'll see clips from my show, and we'll upload the full episode of this tomorrow and the full interview with Tyagaraja. And I hope you enjoyed the music video. I love that song. That is craze music. I think the links are right there for you guys. I'm addicted to your love. Ignited love. Awesome stuff, man. I really dig it. So I hope you guys enjoy that, and if you do, go vote. Come on, this is how you can get involved. Go to consciousresistance.com, check out the shows tab, and you'll see Music Spotlight. Click there and you can see all the videos that we're going to be playing. We still got 2 more to play before the show's over, but show those artists some love. Make sure to find their music, download it, donate, support them, share it, do what you can. And we have a SoundCloud now as well. Conscious Resistance Network does. You can go to soundcloud.com/TCR live. Same thing. There's a playlist for my show, Conscious Resistance Live, and I'm going to put on all the other shows in their own playlist as well to make it easy for you guys to catch up. I'm trying to hit all the formats: audio, video, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook. As hopefully you guys know at this point, I'm really trying to put what effort I can into this and getting lots of help from great people to build this as a independent network that can be conscious, it can be positive, can be solutions based. And that doesn't mean we're going to ignore the problems going on in the world, but we're going to try to focus, whatever the show is, regardless of whether we're talking about music. There's all kinds of good, powerful music out there, and other music that's just good, having fun. And as we've said before, you gotta have music if there's going to be a revolution. I'm not sure the two are separable, but that's what's going on there. So if you want to get involved in the music side of things, contact me, get your music played on here. If you want to get involved as far as being a host, contact us, send us a sample of your work, and we can definitely do that. So let's talk about what's happening now. So what's been up this week? What do I want to talk about now? This past week, there's been right here in my life and on a local level an example of the war on journalists. Now I'm sure it's no surprise to you guys that there is a war on journalists taking place around the world, and a literal war leading to the deaths of journalists that we've discussed, and also a war on journalism where most of the people in the old stream, formerly known as mainstream, are just repeaters. They're broadcasting information. They're not looking into it, looking for their own facts. They're not researching. They're literally just taking the press releases and then repeating them. And you've seen these great clips that have been on different shows like Conan O'Brien and others, where they show all the clips of all the local news stations just saying the same thing over and over. They're all parroting the same lines, and it's creepy stuff. It's really scary to know how controlled and how just that information can be so monopolized and just made into be just, like I said, repeaters. They're not truly creating journalism. So the war on journalists is not only in the physical sense, and it's not only in the sense that we have a propaganda machine that's being created, but also we've seen it on the federal level with the recently debated bill that would define what it means to be a journalist. Senator Dianne Feinstein making comments to the effect of, we can't, basically saying we shouldn't protect the 17-year-old blogger who reports the news doesn't have equal protection that a journalist who's paid by big corporate media. Now, so it creates a conversation of trying to decide what qualifies someone as a journalist. Do you have, according to some people, they say that you have to be working for Fox or MSNBC or the New York Times or the Washington Post or one of those big papers to be considered a journalist. But there's also examples of people that I look up to very much, such as Greg Palast and even Glenn Greenwald to some degree, and Christopher Hedges. A number of other journalists who are contributors to papers, but they're freelance, and they've been able to build careers by just spreading truthful information and breaking stories, caring not if their stories get made into the New York Times. Because the thing that I've come to realize in my small time learning to be a journalist is just understanding that if you can get out there with a pen and a pad, camera, and an open mind, you can start looking around and just being curious. I was just telling Micah here a minute ago that I'm realizing more and more that being a good journalist is about being curious and just being, I think, a powerful individual, being curious about the world, learning, constantly being interested in learning and growing as a person, but being curious about the world around you and starting to look in areas that maybe people aren't focusing on, looking at angles that people might not have seen, and just trying to build from there. So I will look at the press releases and look at the news feeds from the big guys, and then look at what the independent media is talking about, and check local media, and then see what's being underreported and misreported. And so people such as myself, we choose to be journalists not because somebody's paying us a fat paycheck, and some of us, such as myself, also never went to school for journalism. This has just become a growing interest over the past couple of years, and it did come from being an activist, but I don't know if that means I can't do both at the same time. But, you know, there's a whole new genre of activism now, that what the Dianne Feinsteins don't understand and what some local politicians don't understand is that the barriers between what it is to be a journalist and an activist and a citizen journalist and all these monikers is completely blurred now. The internet has changed that now. So this old model of, you know, a certain type of journalist doesn't really fit in, and doesn't really apply anymore, and I don't think it's applicable to our lives now, because, as I said, the software, the hardware is relatively cheap. You can get an account like this, you can get a YouTube channel, you can get any kind of camera. YouTube and the internet has proven that the videos don't have to be complete high quality. Obviously, we want to go for some level of professionality. I think if you're trying to really reach the masses and create a true alternative in the market of media for people, then yeah, you might want to pursue upping your game to the point that they're going to see it and not immediately be turned away because you don't have all the flashy graphics. Does it mean it's needed? No, because people on YouTube can get millions of hits just off grabbing a camera and spitting some thoughts, and that's what it's about. Is if you're giving information, if you're really putting powerful statements out there, and if you're doing your work, you're going out there reporting, you're asking questions, you know, I feel like journalists and others out there do have a similar role. We go out and look for information, find out what's going on, go to the edges and see what's happening, look at this machine and come back and tell everybody, hey guys, there's this stuff going on, I think you should really look into it, you should maybe ask more questions or be more concerned about these things. So anybody can do that. You know, that's what this issue is about. It's not, there's no monopoly on journalism. You know, that's what I think, that a lot of things in our world have been shattered, because we've been taught, and for so long now the ruling class has been able to subject the masses to a form of, you know, I guess some would say a class war. But my point here is that they've been able to do different things to the average person simply because we didn't have the technology or the means to change things for ourselves and to open our world to all kinds of advancements. So now that we have technology, now that we have the internet, and the average person can educate themselves in the same way that a university can, and now the internet has changed where universities are starting to give away classes for free and give away information, and journalism has changed because anybody can broadcast and anybody can put information out and can do research and can become the next, you know, Dan Rathers or whoever, Walter Cronkite or whatever. You know, it's just the internet and technology itself has completely changed the game, and so these lines have been blurred, and this old way of thinking that it's supposed to be some elite thing, that only the right reporters, only the approved people get into the meetings, it's gone now. The old stream media may not like it. They may not like that, hey, why are these people always showing up? They've always got their own cameras and their own people, and we're not part of the club. You know, I've been to Tea Party rallies, I've been to straw polls, and I've interviewed senators. I got to go behind the scenes and with my press pass, right? And what's really funny about this is I'm sitting there with my mohawk, and, you know, me and Mike and others that were there, we don't necessarily fit in with this Republican crowd and well, everybody there, but we're behind the scenes. We got our press pass just like anybody else, and you're seeing the senators all eating their food and having their snacks and their drinks and whatever. And shit, we were munching down, we were hanging out, but it was just a funny feeling of being like, wow, we're part of this club for a minute. Whether they like us or not, we're back here and they can't really do anything about it. And it gave us access to communicate ideas to them, to talk to them, to ask them questions that wouldn't have been asked in a normal situation because we're not a part of the club. And that's what this is really about. That's what the war on journalists from the national to the local level is truly about. It's about creating barriers so that information cannot flow freely. So for those of you who may be unaware, I've been dealing with a situation in Houston here, and it's not about Derek Bros, it's not about the Houston Freethinkers, it's about exposing the fact that it's not just on this federal level, the Dianne Feinsteins and the bills working to define what a journalist means and whether journalists should be protected from having to reveal sources. Well, on a local level, they hold press sessions. Specifically, the Houston Police Department holds a monthly press session the third Thursday of every month. And somehow, I guess the mayor's office is involved in approving who gets into these sessions, what press gets in. Janice Evans, hi Janice, Special Communications Office of the Mayor, something along those lines, who says she's been in media for 20 years and relations for 11 or whatever. Well, we've been, the Houston Freethinkers as an activist group and Derek Brose as a journalist have both been trying to get to the bottom of why the Houston Freethinkers were being monitored by the Houston Police Department. In pursuit of that information, we've been to city council, I've done emails, phone calls, done all this stuff, meetings, blah, 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 blah. Got no information and decided to go to city council one more time a few months back, talk to them all about it. I passed out emails that we had received that were leaked to us showing that we were being monitored, an image as well showing a session where the officers are sitting around looking at a screen with the Houston Freethinkers on the screen. They're watching our YouTube channel. Showed this information to all the city council and to the mayor. The mayor acted clueless. Some of city council said they were looking into it. It got covered by some of the local news, the Spanish stations, and then the holidays came up and I kept emailing, asking if I could get into this press session because I wanted to ask these questions. And through the pursuit of that, they basically said, oh, only mainstream media is allowed in there. And I said, can you define what that means? Is that in your rule book? Is that written down somewhere? Or did you just say that? And she said, mainstream media means the big radio and TV stations. So if you're not with them, you're not getting in here. So began my pursuit of a different cause, not only to go in there to find out why we were being monitored, the Houston Freethinkers, but also to find out why they only let these approved people get in there. And it's become more of an issue as people realize that. And so after the holidays passed, I gave them some time off. The mayor was running for re-election. She won, unfortunately. And I decided we'll wait till the new year. So the new year has arrived. And last week I contacted Janice, and she and I got into a short disagreement and argument, and I was talking over her a bit and she was talking over me a bit, and nothing much was achieved other than her saying that she thought I was threatening her in the previous call, and she had also basically changed her requirements a number of times, going from saying she contacted one of the stations that I'm an occasional correspondent for and they didn't know who I was, which I found out later doesn't seem to be true. And then when I told her that was a station I only rarely worked for every now and then, that I had other credentials that she could check, she wasn't really much interested in hearing that information. But when I told her one of them was based in Austin, she said, oh, that doesn't count, that's out of town, that doesn't matter. And I said, well, I'm their Houston correspondent, and if that's the case, then why were you checking a radio station that's in Beaumont, that's not even in Houston? So that seemed to be a lie. And then she said, oh, she said she looked into benswan.com, who I'm supposed to be working for soon, and she said, oh, they take donations, so that doesn't, that means they don't count. And I said, well, what about National Public Radio, NPR? They accept donations from their listeners and their viewers. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just people support independent media. And then she said that there wasn't the proper advertising, and she just had a reason for everything I said about why I wouldn't be allowed in there. And I think, honestly, that the mayor's office has a specific agenda and a problem with me because of past interviews with the mayor where you guys may have seen the mayor run for me. And I consider that to be me going there as a concerned citizen, but at the same time, a reporter for HFT Media whenever we put those videos out. And we put those out as activists, so it's all at the same time. Why is it there has to be a distinction? Because eventually Janice told me the truth, and what she said was that what I'm doing is activism, not journalism. Her words were, quote, just because you call yourself a journalist doesn't make yourself a journalist. And so we decided to put together a campaign, we being the Houston Freethinkers and others in the Houston Freethinkers community who are concerned about this issue, because despite what the mayor's office thinks, I went to those city council meetings because members of HFT, people who attend our meetings and go to the garden, have said, oh, what does it mean? Am I going to get in trouble by being associated with you guys because you're being monitored? People are worried about it. So we wanted to find out about that, to reassure people there's nothing to worry about. It's just HPD wasting your money. And through that, we found out, hey, they're also discriminating against media. So we organized a phone bomb. Yes, the Houston Freethinkers as activists organized a phone bomb. And the reason they did that is because Derek Brose, the journalist, was being discriminated against. I guarantee you, if it was any other journalist in the city expressing the same thing happened, we would do the same thing. And even if they were writing about something we didn't agree with, it's about supporting the free, independent press, especially in our city. We've fought as activists to get rid of the TSA, the DHS on the Houston metro system, and you're damn right we're going to fight to keep the press free in Houston, especially if I'm reporting. I want to get into those meetings, and I guarantee you we are going to get in there one way or another, and there's nothing to worry about. As I told Janice, I'm going to go in there just like everybody else, set up my camera, ask a few questions, and take some pictures and leave. The thing is, they don't really appreciate the questions I have to ask because they're not approved. There's a lot of issues besides HPD monitoring us. I mean, recently HPD got body cams. I don't ask them where are those images being stored, how do we have access to that? And there's a lot of different things that when I look at the reports from the local media, they don't ask them. So I'm doing it myself, and that's what you should do as well. So I will be sending out one more email. Whoa, hold on, before I get there. We did the phone bomb. Thank you to everyone who was a part of the phone bomb and email blast. I sent out emails to the mayor's office, to Janice specifically, to Jack Christie, who said he would look into it. And eventually we got a response, and Janice basically said, Mr. Bros and the Houston Freethinkers are activists. She posted a video saying, as you can see here, and the video was an interview I did about 2.5 years ago before I was writing and being, getting into journalism. I was just an activist at the time. And so she used that video and said she's been involved in media, she's never seen anything like this, it doesn't show a sign of independent journalism, it's a sign of activism, and there's a place for that, but it's not at these meetings. So I plan to respond back to Janice as kindly as possible and say I think that we got off on the wrong foot a little bit last week. Yes, and to just show her the distinction, to draw the distinction between what the Houston Freethinkers do and what I'm doing as an individual. But at the same time, it truly shouldn't matter, because any one of you should be allowed in those press sessions. All of us should be. That's what she said. She said that she's afraid if they let me in, they make an exception for me, somebody outside of their club, they're going to have to let 200 people in there. For what I told her, I don't think there's 200 people trying to get in there. But if they wanted to, you guys should be able to. Why not? Why do we have to chase them down at our town hall meetings when they come by and hope they answer us? Why aren't we allowed to be in there? Why can't the local news catch you asking a question to the chief, hey chief, how come you hit that guy on his bike when you're driving, Did you take your 1-day suspension yet? In case you didn't know, the HPD chief hit somebody on a bike in downtown. He got away with it. But those are the kind of questions they don't want to ask, and that's why there is a war on journalism. I'll be writing more about that and detailing that whole event further. I'll be sending Janice a message, refuting her points, offering her as plainly as possible all the different places I work for, the places that I'm paid to write for, because yes, I do get paid to write articles, and the people she can contact, and let her know the difference between myself as an activist and as a journalist. And hopefully she can, she can see what I'm trying to do here, and that's not, I think it's become, it became a spectacle here or whatever. Someone told me the phone bomb was a wrong move. I disagree. I think that, for one, it sure shows the mayor's office, oh hey, these guys can cause a headache for us, because I guarantee you the amount of people that told me that they left messages on Janice's phone, she had a little bit to deal with, and that was all I personally wanted to achieve as my part of the Houston Freethinkers. I'm sure others had their purposes, but I wanted to show them, like, hey, this is what we can do. And now I'll contact Janice and see if the mayor's office will let me in there. We'll see if this month I finally get in those press sessions. But one way or the other, if anyone's out there good researching and finding people, find Chief McClellan's schedule as far as events he's attending. Send it to me so I can go out there and interview him out in the streets. That's usually the best way to get them anyways, because they have this other controlled setting. As you can see, they don't even want to let me get in there. But we'll see what comes of it. We're going to cut to our next video here. Wait, is that right? No. The next thing I think is... No, you're right. We're going to go to the song. We're going to play our next video, which is from Sun Salutation. And these guys, man, they got 14 votes last week. Somebody on their band must have been promoting or something, or had all their buddies here voting. And remember, go vote. Music Spotlight, theconsciousresistance.com. So far you've heard... what is his name again? Joe. I forget how I don't know how to pronounce his last name. But Joe, he's the first video that you heard. And Joe. And Ivan Kane, and now we're going to hear Sun Salutation. And then we're going to be checking out a report I did on Dennis Rodman. So stay tuned. You're watching The Conscious Resistance Live. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll be right back.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex. the potential for the disastrous rise of misplaced power exists and will persist. We must never let the weight of this combination endanger our liberties or democratic process. We should take nothing for granted. Only an alert and knowledgeable citizen can compel the proper meshing of the huge industrial and military machinery of defense with our peaceful methods and goals, so that security and liberty may prosper together.
Now from on top of the world we saw everything. Oh, you got what you want, but you don't got a thing. And with a little bit of hell just from above, you got what you thought was never-ending love. But before it's all gone, you gotta let it run, let it run. Woo! When we give up what we want and we're taking what we need, and I can't push it all aside. Get lost in your dreams, don't wanna be the reason that it all fell apart. Broken hearted right there from the start when we moved. Just a little bit more. Could we complain? Hell yeah, but you know that it never did any good. And from a brighter side of a newborn plan, and when it fell from what you thought was coming out of your hands, and when it's time to go, yeah, just know the other side is always where I go. When we look away, we get nothing done. And I know I'm not the only one. Look away and get nothing done. And we all know their war will never be won. Now gather around, children, it's story time. Do you really want to know who controls the minds of the world? The bankers, the Bilderberg group. The government needs scapegoats for crimes they do. And we watched as the bullets went through, because they killed JFK and Martin Luther too. It's crazy today to watch the towers fall. Conspiracy in it all. When we give up what we want and we're taking what we need, and I can push it all aside and get lost in your dreams. I don't wanna be the reason that it all fell apart. Open your mind, there was your heart. When we look away, we get nothing done. And I know I'm not the only one. Look away and get nothing done. And we all know their war will never be won. I once knew a man and he stood for a cause. They chopped his legs off just to watch him fall. And with a little bit better view of the world, he realized that you could say everything and still say nothing at all. When we give up what we want and then we're taking what we need, and I can push it all aside and get lost in your dreams. I don't wanna be the reason that it all fell apart. It'll never be forgiven what we got it from the start. But when we give up what we want, taking what we need, I can push it all aside. Lost in your dreams, don't wanna be the reason that it all fell apart. Open your mind, there was your heart. When we look away, we get nothing done. And I know I'm not the only one. Look away and get nothing done. And I know I'm not the only one.
Well, it's New Year, 2014, and it didn't take long for the distractions to start. That's right. The powers that wish they were already have something new they'd like you to look at rather than pay attention to what's really going on behind the curtain. This week, our feature is Dennis Rodman. The former NBA player has taken a trip to North Korea for some basketball diplomacy and even serenading Kim Jong-un, making headlines across the country for being out there. And it's interesting to me to note this. For one, as I said, there's a number of other things going on in the country right now that we could be talking about other than what Dennis Rodman's doing. But then you have this other interesting aspect of it, where news publications are asking, is it unethical to visit North Korea? Is it unethical for someone, a celebrity, to be going over there and just playing basketball without taking note or making strides in the political arena? Obviously, you're fully aware that the United States views North Korea as part of George Bush's axis of evil, along with Iran and any other country we wish to eliminate for various reasons. So there's an issue with an American prisoner being held by North Korea, and people are asking the question, is it ethical for someone to go over there and spend time in North Korea? Is it ethical? Is it right? Is it just? Now, the funny thing to me about this, again, is that the media, the corporations, the state, the powers that wish they were, the old stream media, for one, they try to dictate to you what your ethics should be. You should hate this country. You should dislike these people. But also, looking deeper into it, you really have to wonder, why would we want to look into the media and the corporations behind them and the banks behind the corporations and the governments and look to them for our ethics, for our values, for our standards on how we're going to live our lives? I mean, what we should really be asking is it unethical, or is it ethical for the United States to, and the U.S. taxpayer, to fund murder by U.S. drones, striking and killing up to 14 people during a wedding? We have to ask ourselves, is it ethical for us to support and continue to allow force feeding and torture in the American name at Guantanamo Bay in Cuba? We have to ask ourselves, why do we allow things such as the TPP to continue to be pushed forth? Now nearing fast track, giving the president untold authority to push anything through, the TPP affecting everything from corporations, from the internet to your health care. Is that ethical? Is it ethical for us to have a few 100,000 people, non-violent criminals, offenders, behind bars for victimless crimes such as smoking a plant? Is that ethical? These are the things we should really look at and ask ourselves whenever the media and the government and CNN want to talk about Dennis Rodman, and ask, is it ethical? And also have you put your head up your own ass or your head in the sand and look at and talk about things that don't truly matter right now. Because in 2013, 2012, and 2011, a lot of work has been done by activists, and many, many people are waking up to things going on in the world. And the media would love nothing than to keep you distracted in 2014. But I have faith that you will continue to search for information. You will look past the Dennis Rodmans that take place throughout the rest of this year, look past the different distractions, and see what's really happening behind the curtain. I also want to note that Kevin Carson of the Center for Stateless Society, he also did a piece about this, talking about Dennis Rodman, and he took another angle, which I think is interesting, talking about the privatization of diplomacy. And an important point here, that the government has failed, whether Hillary Clinton, John Kerry, or any other past Secretary of State, or any diplomats, to achieve anything meaningful with North Korea. And Dennis Rodman, although he isn't somebody I would say you should be following or paying attention to, Dennis Rodman is over there, whether genuine or not, doing more work for diplomacy and creating friendly relations than any government possibly can, because of course we know governments operate through force and through fear. So another interesting aspect of this, we as individuals can create change. We don't need the government to do that. We don't need these large organizations to establish new relationships with North Koreans or with anyone else. And obviously North Korea, just like the United States, is guilty of some pretty harsh things. And I'm not saying I want to be bedfellows with him, but we have to take steps in our own lives to be the masters of our own domain, to realize the potential that is within each of us, and to create the kind of relationships we want in our lives. We don't need a government, we don't need the media, we don't need the corporations or anyone else outside of ourselves to tell us who we should have relationships with and to tell us what to think about. Keep your mind open, realize that there's a lot more going on than Dennis Rodman. If you can hear this, you are the resistance.
Welcome back to The Conscious Resistance. That was a report I did earlier in the week on Dennis Rodman and the distractions. I'm wearing the same clothes. And I hope you enjoyed that. That's also available at youtube.com/consciousresistance. I'm really getting back in the routine of doing regular reports, and I swear, I'll be on a schedule soon. I would like to have, ideally, Wednesday, do a conscious thought of the day, just quick videos discussing a number of different ideas and topics. And then on Fridays, do like a feedback Friday. So the more involved you guys get with the videos, with the Twitter account, and with the Facebook comments, I want to take those and comment them. We can get deep into discussions, whether we're talking about conscious topics, liberty, anarchy, political solutions, or what have you. Just in general, make this a more interactive broadcast. So I'm encouraged to get that going. And one of the new additions to the show that I'm happy to be presenting to you for the second week, and that I want to thank Neil once again for beautifying this video and making John's words come to life, so to speak. It's the culture shock. So the idea behind the culture shock was basically that we were going to analyze different aspects of mainstream media, old stream media, television, movies, different things like that, and relate it to what's going on in the world, freedom, anarchy, liberty. And John Goodvibes, who's the author and writer for the IntelliHub, is a good friend of mine, and we're co-writing a book together as well on spirituality and anarchy. He took up the reins for this, and he's moving forth with the culture shock. So each week it'll be debuting on the Conscious Resistance Live, and again, those episodes can be found on the Conscious Resistance Network YouTube channel. So last week John talked about permits, property rights, and live music, and how those things all intersect. You can go find that episode. This week we're talking about cryptocurrency. And I'm sure many of you are familiar with what cryptocurrency is. Cryptocurrency such as Bitcoin, Litecoin. I think Ron Paul is starting his own cryptocurrency soon, and there's a bajillion others out there. But tonight John's going to look at cryptocurrency, explain a little bit of where it's going, and how it's starting to impact indigenous cultures here in the country that we live in today. So check this out. This is episode number 2 of The Culture Shock, brought to you by John Goodvibes.
Hello everyone, this is John Vibes, and you are watching Culture Shock on the Conscious Resistance. Today I'm going to talk about cryptocurrencies because they have been a very popular item in the news, and there has been a lot of debate back and forth, especially with a lot of the spin-off cryptocurrencies coming out. Everybody knows about Bitcoin and its explosion in value over the past year, and because of the fact that cryptocurrencies are kind of, I guess, a free market phenomenon, probably one of the first free market currencies that have ever really developed, at least since the beginning of time when kings and governments started taking control of currency. So I wanted to talk about specifically about the spin-offs, because even people that have faith in Bitcoin seem to be very skeptical of all these spin-offs. And it's kind of understandable. There has been a lot of ridiculous spin-offs, especially in the past couple months. There was the, I believe it's pronounced Dodge or Dog, that stupid dog meme that everybody posts. There was a cryptocurrency that was based on that, which exploded in popularity in about a week until it got hacked, and now I'm pretty sure it's done for. And there's also the more interesting Kanye West, which is anonymous backers who have created a cryptocurrency spoofing Kanye West, basically. He's already gotten really mad and sent them a cease and desist which they have responded by just opening up a new website with a even funnier picture of Kanye West as a fish on the actual logo. Fans of South Park will probably understand that reference. So yeah, there is some ridiculous cryptocurrencies out there, but this is what you get with any free market phenomenon. You get the good with the bad, and the bad will die off, and the good ideas will actually solve problems, they will be valuable, and they will help people out. The main thing that people are concerned about, or it seems to be the main concern, is that people think that these spin-off cryptocurrencies are going to devalue Bitcoin and cause people to lose faith in Bitcoin. I really don't think that that's a valid argument because, first off, the value of Bitcoin is completely irrelevant. Bitcoin was just as useful for people when it costed 12 million Bitcoins to buy a pizza as it is now when Bitcoin is $1,000 per Bitcoin. It still served the same function, and since it's infinitely divisible, it honestly really doesn't matter how much it's worth, except for people who are using it as an investment. And that investment opportunity has been distracting a lot of people from the real uses of Bitcoin. Which brings me to my actual story on the subject, is a issue that I covered on IntelliHub this week in one of my exclusive articles, and that is basically an example that I would like to put forward as one of these Bitcoin spin-offs that do solve a problem, that do serve a function, and it shows us how valuable these spin-offs can be. And what I'm talking about is a Native American reservation in Rapid City, South Dakota, has developed their own cryptocurrency, which they are basically using to circumvent regulators, keep the money within the community, keep the wealth within the community, and even avoid taxes, even though they haven't said that explicitly. The tribe's currency is called Maza coin, and the tribe is the Oglala Lakota Nation, and I forgive me terribly if I butchered that. But yeah, they're putting out their own cryptocurrency, which is a spin-off. It works basically the same way as Bitcoin, but it is marketed and centered around their community, their Indian reservation. And my point on this is that the Bitcoin system allows specific communities, demographics, or whatever, groups of people that have specific needs. They can tailor this cryptocurrency technology to their specific needs, and it can enrich their community. These spin-offs that we see, like the Dog Coin and the Kanye West, they're highly publicized jokes that really don't have any value, but they show us how easy it is for just anyone to create a currency. And although cryptocurrency isn't perfect, there are drawbacks. People lose passwords, power grids go down sometimes, people lose hard drives. So they're not perfect, but they are extremely valuable. And this case can really show us the potential that this technology has. So if you want to check out the article, the headline of the article is Native American Reservation Develops Its Own Cryptocurrency. You can just type that into Google and it'll bring up the video where it has an interview with one of the developers, and you can see my article at IntelliHub there. If you're interested in finding any of my other work, you can find free books at aotmr.com, and check my daily Facebook updates at facebook.com/jgvibes. This has been the Culture Shock on the Conscious Resistance. This is JG Vibes. Peace.
the ideas that I'm working on, and I'm very, very close to launching a Indiegogo for this. I just need to do some video editing and get the team really tied together. But it's an idea involving community recycling, 3D printers, and a machine called the Filabot. The basic idea is to take the Filabot, which will recycle plastic and create filament, which is the ink in 3D printers, collect plastic from all around the community, have a community recycling day at different community centers, show everybody how this technology works, put it in the machine, create filament, then partner up with TXRX Labs, our local hackerspace, and work with them on 3D printing different objects that we can then either resell for a particular charity or particular cause. Or one idea that I'm very fond of that I'm going to be voting for is to create 3D printed hand tools that we can go then to the last organic outpost where our community garden is, and we can go to different parts of Houston where there are maybe homeless people who are looking for a way to put themselves to use, to get a better life, to get things going, to have organic food. How about we come help them and tell them, hey, we have free hand tools that have been created by the community. Come get involved with us. Come do some digging. Come do some planting, and you can take some with you, and just different ways that we can connect to our community. So it's going to be a completely circular process. I want it to be the full spectrum, from taking this waste product, putting it into something valuable, and then not stopping there, but then reusing the instruments for good. One other idea that I've seen people doing, because it's relatively easy to do, is to 3D print cell phone cases, cell phone covers, like the iPhone and those type of things. You can do those for a particular cause, whatever you choose, then sell those for a few bucks, and it's all profit, and then you could put that towards a particular cause. But plus, I also want to make Houston a shining light for the use of this technology. 3D printing technology is still a new frontier, and as far as I've heard, there hasn't been a recycling program like this, and I would love to help be involved with this and to show people what's happening in Houston, and hopefully encourage you guys, because it's about us sharing examples of positive ways to make change. And as I said, it's not going to work exactly the same in each area. We're going to have to adapt it to our conditions, our environment, our needs, and see what works in our communities. But I'm really excited about getting that idea off the ground. One thing I want to leave you with before we go, guys. For one, hey, I think this is the first show. Neil, we made it. Jeffer, we made it. First show without a crash, without technical difficulties. Yes. I think we're on, it says episode 7, but, there was a couple of 3.5s and 4.5s that, so we'll call it episode 7. Thank you for everyone who's helped get it to this point. It's only going to get better from here, and I really do appreciate that. And what I want to leave you with is from that same book I was reading about happiness, and this book is not the be-all, end-all. It's just one of many self-help kind of interesting books, but it's got some interesting points in it that I'm choosing to share with you. And this chapter is about acceptance, and there's just a short piece here that I'd like to share with you before I let you guys go for the night. It says, consider the following qualities present in relationship masterpieces, talking about making your relationships with people works of art. Start with a blank canvas of acceptance. Permit people to be who they are, not what they could be, should be, or would be if only they listen to you. Accept the imperfections and celebrate each person's individuality. Acceptance affirms people's value, raises self-esteem, and makes them feel comfortable in your presence. And I did a video a long while back called The Importance of Acceptance, or Acceptance Like That. You can find it's one of my very early videos on youtube.com/DerekBrosLiveFree. But a video about the importance of acceptance. I think it can't be overstated that in different ways we all want to be accepted. It's important for you to accept yourself and to love yourself. That's definitely one important step, and one that I'm always working on, learning more and more self-love and self-forgiveness. But also we want to be accepted by each other, and that can lead to some bad situations where people get involved in groupthink and stuff like that. But it's also just generally wanting to be close to others, wanting to connect. So take time to accept yourself, improve yourself how you can. Don't be too hard on yourself, and encourage and accept those around you, because we're going to need each other in the end, and every day, really. So thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you to Uncorporate Media, to Truth Broadcasting Network, The Rundown Live, Liberty Movement Radio, Freedom Phalanx Radio Network. Be sure to check out all their shows, and you can hear us on their stations throughout the week. I'll be here next Sunday from 8 to 10 p.m. As always, if you can hear this, you are the resistance. Peace!
Light, die, die. Light, die, 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 die. Oh, my And I'll kiss you back to sleep. I'll wake you from your nightmares.